Jaguars homes is presented by Underwood Jewelers and American Window Products.
On 1010XL.
Now your hosts.
Lauren Bruce, Blythe Bromley, and Lauren.
See you, Bright.
Break the line. What do they say? Break the line.
That's what they say. Do they still say that?
More for acting.
Rip the vocal cord.
Yeah, that doesn't sound nearly as good as break the line.
Sorry, Tara.
Oh, no, you're fine.
No, it's my problem.
Backpack. Bye.
We're on. We're on.
We are going to talk some Jaguars tonight on Helmets and Heels, built by Dream Finders Homes. You know why, ladies?
Why?
Because the Jaguars were victorious.
Yeah, they were.
Not just victorious, they stomped the New York Jets. They even kind of stepped on the throat of the New York Jets there at the end. But we are going to talk a whole lot of fun stuff tonight, including a lot of Jaguars. So let's start with Jaguars quarterback Blake Bortles. So in this Twitter sphere, right, in the Twitter world, I send out tweets after every press conference, and I send out tweets during the game, and usually like a handful of people will like or comment or retweet, whatever. I go into the presser with you, Lauren, after the game on Sunday. I send out a tweet about exactly what Blake Bortles says when he's asked about the 2-point conversion that Doug Marrone decided to go for when the Jaguars were up 31-12. His quote was funny. He just said, "I just work here." Literally, I've never had a tweet
You went viral.
go insane.
Yeah.
It's like almost 1,300 likes and like 400 retweets, and it just fascinates me because it's just Blake. Like, it's literally just Blake being Blake. But I think the Jaguar perspective, the fan base is like, that is exactly why we love that guy, because he's not just our quarterback, but he's been really good. He's taken a lot of crap over the years, and he still is just a funny, regular guy. Is it time to just put all the negativity aside for Blake Bortles, Blythe?
I think the majority of the negativity isn't there except for when he has a bad game. I mean, people want to love this guy. They want to go to bat for him. They want to defend him. But performances after what we saw against the Titans sometimes makes it difficult. But he's such a relatable guy, and like you said, he's taken so much crap throughout the years that people want him to succeed. He's at a point where he is playing well. It's just putting together a few good games in a row, that consistency factor, that is still the argument against him. It's the good Blake versus bad Blake argument, that you're not sure when you're going to get the bad Blake. But that's the reality of the NFL, and that's the reality of this team, is that other teams are going to come in and they're going to try to expose him. They're going to try to get him to be the bad Blake of the game.
I think that he is so incredibly likable that he's at times a hard guy for people to say. I say it's hard for people to say bad things about him. It's not, because they can rattle off where he has his struggles and how inefficient he can be at times. But he in situations like that in the press conference, that's a genuine human emotion where he's asked, what did you think when Marrone decided to go for two? A somewhat controversial topic it ended up being for the past couple of days. And his response was just so perfect of like, well, I don't know. Instead of saying, no comment, He is who he is, and you love him and hate him for everything in between. But he was genuine, and his response was so likable and down to earth that you're right. How do people not like this guy? Well, because he quarterbacks a football team that people are fans of, and you want your quarterback to be successful, and you want your team to be successful, and you don't want to suffer, and you're tired of the ups and the downs. And I don't know that ever goes away. If you can have more ups than downs, then you're definitely making progress. And so far in this season, he has done that. And again, we're a quarter way through. You're 3-1 on the season. You'll take that all day long through the next 16 weeks, that same kind of average. But where Blake fits into on that and whether people love him or hate him, I don't know that he really cares. I mean, all of us deep down, right, want to be liked on some level. There are certain things that we'll dismiss and go, you know what, I can't make everybody happy, and there's going to always be people that are complaining, but it is what it is. But he finds a way to be who he is and go out and play to the best of abilities, and sometimes it's really great like we saw last week, and sometimes it's not so great like we saw the week before. So I don't think honestly, I don't think the detractors will ever fully go away unless he becomes that guy that we saw against New England and that guy that we saw against the Jets on a more consistent basis. And I don't know that's a fair thing to ask.
I mean, you guys are on every day. Are people actively rooting against him? Because I just don't get that.
No.
I just don't get that sense.
No, absolutely
I don't
not.
think. No, I don't.
National
think so.
media, I think, still has.
Well, he's
yet
an easy
to fully
punching
embrace.
bag. I mean, and again, to no fault of his own. I mean, that's the thing. If you were like the biggest jerk in the world, if you were like the Blaine Gabbert of the world, where people were like, "What the hell have you even done?" and you're a jerk to people,
then you're not rooting for him to succeed. If he's a jerk.
For Blaine. Oh yeah. If he's the Blaine Gabberts of the world,
right.
right? I mean, I think he's just an easy punching bag because of the way he, I don't know, some of the comments he made a few years ago at the start of his career about his own mechanics and things like that. But he's just a nice guy, and people go, man, he's a nice guy, but he's not a great quarterback sometimes. So it's easy to go to that and go, yeah, but he'll. I mean, there's all these Twitter accounts made about him, right? Like the Bortles facts that kind of defend what he does. So I don't know.
Well, and that started when Blake wasn't very successful as a quarterback, and that kind of became the joke. Is like, oh yeah, he's better than X. Well, though he was. The guy who started it was comparing apples to oranges. There was no way that those could ever be the same thing, whatever he was saying Blake was better than. So that's where it started even as that, but it's evolved into a lot of support for him. And I think, we've seen players. If you watch that Blake Bortles mic'd up, which, by the way, is fantastic if you haven't seen it. It's only about 3 minutes. It's so worth your time. I think my respect level has grown so much for Blake Bortles, not just the off the field and the way he's handled the media when things weren't going well, but that cat is tough. I mean, you listen to the mic'd up and you watch the way that he's hit, and he even says on the sidelines, how come to Cody Kessler, how come I don't get the late hits or the roughing the passer hits that these other quarterbacks get? Right, when they're diving for my knees. This guy is in a position that right now in the NFL is being treated like you can't touch them, or with your full body weight or you're going to get in trouble. Yet he has put the team on his back a couple times this year, and he's playing so physical. I just think that the respect level, yes, for him with Jaguars fans who a year ago, well, a little over a year ago now, training camp, were ready to part ways with him forever. And he's handled it with grace, and more so, though, he has been so incredibly accurate. And I loved what he said, too, on the sidelines about, let's not throw the over-the-shoulder Dante Moncrief. Let's just let him run full speed ahead. Like, he now knows his personnel so well, too, and he's able to tease Hackett, Nathaniel Hackett, the offensive coordinator, and I just love who he's become on the field, too. I think that's the only part that we were missing, right? And people were asking for consistency at times. The only really bad game he's had so far is against the Titans. That's it. He missed a lot of throws, but also he wasn't getting any help.
Giants, too.
Yeah, Giants
See, I don't think
great.
It's not on. Well, he had week 1, 67% passer rating. Week 2, 111. Week 3, 72%. And last week against the Jets, 114. So it is. It's bad. It's good. Bad. Good. Hopefully this upcoming weekend, it's on. We break that streak. I just don't blame him
for the Giants game. I think if you go back and watch, I think it's less Blake and it's more the people around.
I mean, this only tells one side of the story. It doesn't tell that the running game couldn't get established. It doesn't tell the drops. It doesn't tell the penalties that are called back after completions. It's only part of the story. But he does have to be more consistent. That's been my biggest knock against him, is that he has to be more consistent, and he has to be that guy that Patrick Mahomes that can go down with a few minutes left in the game and win the game for you.
And that didn't happen against the Titans, and certainly that's fair criticism because the Jaguars had the ball with about 4 minutes left to go. They had the opportunity to go down and at least get, what was the score at that point? It was it 10-6? So they needed a touchdown.
If they scored a second half touchdown in that game, they would have won.
So it was 9-6. So they needed a field goal to at least tie it. That's right. It was 9-6. All they needed was the field goal. They just had to go, I think they started on maybe like their 15 or 20. So they just needed to go down the field and at least get a field goal to force overtime. And they couldn't do it. So that is certainly, a time that you go, all right, you're supposed to be able to lead this team. But again, yes, not having Leonard Fournette, your number 4 overall pick last year. So that brings me to that question about Leonard. As a fan, especially Blythe, are you annoyed with him? Even though it's a legitimate injury, though, are you still frustrated?
I'm frustrated at the injury. I'm frustrated at taking a running back at 4th overall. But that's all like water under the bridge, because as a professional athlete, he wants to be out there. I know he wants to be out there, and he wants to be he's the team captain, for God's sakes. So this is a guy that wants to be out there playing with this team, and I wonder if he maybe wanted it a little too much, and that's why he hurried coming back. And he wants to be a player, wants to play football. But in his case, I'm not annoyed with him at all. I'm annoyed with the whole sort of situation of and I don't even know if it's his fault that he was drafted at 4th overall. It's almost just like the philosophy behind drafting a running back at 4th overall should have been called into question, especially when you see all these other running backs like Kamara for New Orleans that's doing outstanding. He's drafted so many picks after Leonard Fournette. I just don't. I don't know that he's ever going to be able to live up to that value that the team drafted him at. And that's where it's not his fault that he obviously can't get back out on the field. But I think at this point, you got to put him on the temporary IR, which is like somewhere like 8 weeks. You put him on the 8-week IR. That should be plenty of time for him to get his rest, be ready for the playoffs, and go sign somebody off the practice squad. Because I think with this offensive line and I think with this offensive game plan, that it's not as easy as a plug and play, but I think you could definitely work somebody in there and have them be serviceable.
Well, and the other part of this is that the other back that you're relying on is not, I don't know, I'll throw a number, 75% healthy. I don't know how healthy TJ Yeldon is with the ankle. He has been banged up enough. You know, the major difference between their injuries are the fact that they're totally different injuries. You can tape up an ankle and say, how good does it feel, versus a hamstring that prohibits him from all the things that he needs to do to be a powerful runner. So that's the part that makes me nervous. I mean, you don't ever want to be a one-dimensional offense, and because Blake Bortles is not Patrick Mahomes, just because that's the guy that was thrown out in the conversation, right? You'd go, listen, we got to have some kind of a running game, and if it's Leonard Fournette's not going to be healthy, whether it's now or 6 weeks from now, but the reality is we can't base the rest of the season and plan around him. We have to make some kind of an adjustment in the run game, and I don't know who that is. I mean, I know they brought somebody in today to go through practice to work him out, and didn't really send off a whole bunch of alarms. But there has to be some. I would assume that they're more worried about it. Look, they want to win more than any of us in this room, and I would assume that they're trying to figure out whatever it is to make this a more complete running unit so that they have the real chance or have the opportunity to get as far as they want to go, and that's the Super Bowl.
Well, and Doug Marrone spoke yesterday and said, we have Brandon. He was talking about Brandon Wild, so they had already called up for the practice squad when they knew about the Fournette injury a couple weeks ago. So they've got what they think is good enough, and then he said, we'll, in every different position group, we'll make an adjustment or we'll bring an acquisition in if we think it's going to help. So he left the door open. I think if they do find somebody that they think is going to be able to help, your issue, I think, is there's not a lot of running backs that are built the way Leonard Fournette is built. And I think my frustration is he lost the 10 pounds, so I thought, therefore, he would be lighter on his feet and less likely to be injured. Mm-hmm. But it was, the foot/ankle last year. He had a lot of different injuries at LSU. Mm-hmm. And then hamstring, it makes sense. Running backs, that's what they do. I think it just surprised everybody that it happened in the first game of the season, in the second quarter against the Giants. He doesn't play for 2 weeks, and then last week he left. The one thing I wondered this past Sunday is he kind of came out at halftime and moved around a little bit. Are they really just going, we know we were going to win this game, we don't need you this week? And then maybe this week we started to hear them sing a little bit of a different tune, but it doesn't sound like that. It doesn't sound like he is at all going to be available this coming Sunday against the Chiefs. So my thought process was kind of optimistic, like, oh yeah, they don't need him for the second half, they're going to win. Maybe they're just keeping him out with the tightness because that makes sense. But it just doesn't seem like that. And so certainly, like you said, Blythe, he wants to be out there. There's no one that works harder than these NFL guys to get their body ready throughout the offseason. And it's unfortunate for him that it's this particular injury, since this is the one that lingers so long. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the crowd and the fans and what they do inside the stadium. That would be TIAA Bank Field. You're listening to Helmets and Heels, built by Dream Finders Homes on 1010XL.
And every contest is a moment where the rubber hits the road.
Alrighty.
Had a little late start today. I think we had like 10 seconds.
I figured because I heard her update it and I was like, oh. The last 2 years, the Jaguars returned a punt for a touchdown, earning local families $100,000 towards a Dream Finders home. Lauren Brooks here, letting you know that could be you this season. Visit any Dream Finders Homes model and register to win the Take It to the House promotion for your chance at scoring $100,000 towards your Dream Finders home. Make it a point to visit Dream Finders Homes' newest stadium home before any Jaguars game. Take a free tour and register for a chance to win amazing grand prizes. Dream Finders Homes will select one winner per home game, only at Dream Finders Homes Stadium Home 2.0 by Gate 4 at TIAA Bank Field. Dream Finders Homes, homes built to fit your lifestyle. Thank you. So what is I Fly?
Is that where we're going? Oh, you know what it is?
Yeah, what?
Is it
I've
that
never heard of
indoor skydiving place?
It is.
What?
Ooh,
That's
it's
where our
new. It's
show
over there
will
by
be
Top Golf.
November.
I didn't even know he had this.
It's not open yet, but there it's
We are at that show on
Oh my god, I'm doing it.
November 20th. Tuesday, November 20th. For the soft
Doing it.
opening. I've never even heard of it. It's exciting.
Live.
Oh, and the Florida Georgia lunch thing that y'all will be at, that's fun.
Is it? Okay.
Me too, or no?
Midday chop.
Okay,
yeah.
okay. I thought y'all. This.
Sorry.
Wait. Okay, someone sent out that your show will be live. This is midday again. Your show will be live Thursday, October 18th. Okay, that makes sense. But then the email before I thought just said Friday the 20th. Am I losing my mind?
With midday?
Yeah. Yeah, it says, oh, that was the 26th. That's why. Just
Yeah.
kidding. Going too fast.
So November 20. That's when they open. November 20. Oh, I guess we are in
That's their
October.
soft opening, yeah.
That's cool.
Are they gonna let us do it?
Dude,
I
better.
don't know.
Get there early. Maybe it's like the Harley Davidson thing, where you get there a little early, try it out.
Try it out, talk about it, encourage people to come out there to use it.
Alex coming in. Yeah, you had about 10 seconds of dead air at the start.
Whoops.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, she has an hour and 20. Although for her it's 6:38. Right? Isn't it?
Yeah, I told her
Okay.
6:38 Central Time.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You thought I had.
This week's Tire Outlet Drive of the Game took place in the fourth quarter against the Jets. Running back TJ Yeldon capped off a 9-play, 65-yard drive with a 1-yard touchdown run. The 9-play scoring drive took 3 minutes and 57 seconds and sealed the game for Jacksonville.
You can weigh in. Number 1,
Okay, is that a black dress?
Yep.
Okay, and this is for what?
a brewery date. Or number 2. This is not me.
No, I
obviously.
know. I have a hot date tonight.
I said number 1.
Yeah, I mean that's sexier.
That's what
What's
I said.
brewery? Like
A
a
brewery
bar, like casually,
She
but
said that's what I'm doing.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I was a little late.
1 minute.
Okay, thanks. Why would you like to weigh in? No, now that it's already been decided by her, so it doesn't really matter. That's 1.
What is this for?
A brewery date. She's going on a date tonight with a guy she's never met.
First one.
That's what
Black
that's what we all said. Okay. I thought that was pretty simple. Besides, she wouldn't really ask me.
Simple but chic.
I was the one who suggested dress in sneakers, though, so props to me.
Sundresses and sneakers are go-to.
Yeah, because she wanted to wear wedges, and I was like, don't wear wedges to a brewery.
Mm-mm. Sneakers are where it's at.
All right, here we go.
Play your cards
Thank you.
I'll see your bet. And, I'll call it the Best Bet Poker Show, Wednesday nights at 6 on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
You're listening to Helmets and Heels, built by Dreamfinders Homes
Presented by Underwood Jewelers and American Window Products.
on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
And away we go, talking more Jaguars tonight. So I told you guys my cousin just moved down from Pennsylvania.
Yes,
she got to
hot
go
date
to
tonight too, by the way.
She does. She would be incredibly embarrassed if we mentioned that.
She's not listening. It's okay.
But she's getting ready for the date, so I'm sure she's.
Go with the black one,
Very
Carly.
good.
Go with the black.
There you go. So she went to her
Black
first
dress.
Jaguars game, and had a fabulous time. She'd only been to one NFL game other than that, Steelers. That's, of course, she grew up in Pennsylvania. Makes sense. But so this was her second ever NFL game, first Jaguars game. We get in the car on the way home, and she's like, she kept saying, Lauren. And I'd be like, yeah. And she'd go, Duval! She absolutely loved it. She thought the whole thing was just an absolute blast. And I told her, that's one of our most favorite chants.
Yeah.
And I had told her, move those chains is something that used to happen. I don't know, depending on where you sit, it may or may not happen. And Jeff yesterday morning said he didn't hear it at all in his section. But
Which is crazy to me. I
someone
hear it
tweeted me
every
and
single
said,
game.
Yeah, they do it in her section every time. So let's go back and revisit this move those chains. Do you do it every single first down? How do you approach it?
Okay, so I've had a love-hate relationship with this chant, mostly because during what we like to call the dark ages, I hated cheering for first downs, but it was the only thing we really had to cheer about. So since we sort of had a little bit more success, I've started to hate it, I guess, a little bit less because I'm just more enthusiastic, and it wanes as far as like how the game goes on. So like the very first one of the game, I'm super enthusiastic, standing up, doing the first down, and I do the whole move those chains, because you say it 3 times, move those chains, move those chains, move those chains. But then for the rest of the game, it's usually just a move those. You just say it once and you do the little arm thing, and it depends on like the atmosphere of the game, like how hype you want to be. But it's really enthusiastic at the very first part of the game, and then towards the end, depending on if you're winning or losing. But it still goes on. I don't know where Jeff was sitting that he didn't hear it, but it goes on all around.
When did they implement the players on the Jumbotron to encourage people to cheer at certain downs?
The video boards themselves were installed for the Carrie Underwood concert, July 25th, 2014.
Okay.
I remember that because it's my birthday. And so that first season, I don't remember player graphics being up there. So maybe like 2016, maybe like 2 years later, sounds like where they finally got, not finally, but where they were really able to kind of figure out what they wanted to do. But I don't think it was until really last season that the crowd was getting more into it, because of course the games were starting to be much more
Exciting.
And they a couple of the times they're questionable too. Then when they bring out like the player chants, it's like, we're on offense. Why are you asking people to cheer? So that's a couple times where it's like, come on, whoever's operating needs to be more, I guess, cognizant of what's going on during the game. But the video graphics themselves, I think, are top notch. Like I say this not really knowing any of the other teams, but I think they're some of the best in the league, only because of the space that they have to work with.
Well, I think as far as a fan interaction standpoint, up in the press box where you can kind of see everything, and if the crowd seems to be kind of docile and it's like a big third down, and Miles Jack's on there going, come on, get up, be loud. The amount of response that generates, and and the noise that comes from that, versus what used to be traditional cheerleaders, right? That would encourage certain sections to yell and stuff. I mean, I think it's brilliant. I think it's really effective as far as getting the crowds involved again, from the bird's eye view of watching people and then everybody kind of get involved. I think that's like an extremely smart way to do all that.
And I think it's necessary because, I mean, people driving their vehicles are not 100% paying attention to driving.
Oh yeah, no,
so we're
people
really
forget,
expecting
yeah.
a fan
the booze starts
with,
flowing. There's
right,
a swimming pool, you got
alcohol,
the dogs
with
over
friends.
here.
Like,
No, it's smart.
are we
and
really
it's a
expecting them to
reminder
pay
of-
attention?
yes.
Right, and
no,
so I
I'm
think,
a big fan. I think that's really smart.
Yeah, and it's such an easy thing to do, because I'll watch the guys on the field and they'll put their arms up, but it's really not until all of a sudden the video board lights up and one of those guys, let's say it's
Really,
Joe Ramsey,
I feel
getting
like the
up there.
players get me more hype. When they start asking for fans to cheer live on the field, that's what gets me more hype versus...
Right, but not everybody watches the game the way you do.
Yeah.
So the fans that are not dialed into every single play and watching the interactions of the players, really benefit from a big ass screen on either end zone and a player getting on there going, hey, this is the time where you cheer, because the reality is a lot of that fan base comes in and is a fan that does not pay attention to every single snap. It may be more social for them, or they're just there to have a good time, and it involves them without having to feel like they have to stay focused in on the game. And that's what makes it inclusive for people who aren't hardcore football fans. We could all go to a football game and not have to be told what to watch or when to watch for it or when to cheer if necessary. But there are fans out there who benefit from somebody going, hey, this is when you're supposed to get really loud because it's third down, and if you can stop on third down, that is a huge momentum shift because you're going to force them to punt.
Then stop showing the graphics when we're on offense.
And I didn't know they did that.
Yeah, in the Titans game they did.
What do you mean
they
changed?
I think it was specifically, I think it was the Telvin Smith graphic that they showed him like trying to hype up the crowd on the huge scoreboards when we're on offense and we're trying to score. It's like, no, you're not supposed to be loud here. So I think that's more of like
they're going, something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
By the way, was it so much fun to boo Jason Myers?
I booed him the whole, and I'm not even really like a player booer. Like I booed him the whole game.
Former
The
Jaguars
whole game.
kicker, he followed Josh Scobie. He did not perform well when he was here. Now he kicks for the Jets. He came back to Jacksonville this past Sunday, and I knew that some people would boo, but I wasn't sure how widespread it would be because I wasn't sure how many people were paying attention. And I just had to laugh. Now, I don't know ill will against Jason. It's just he obviously was not good when he was here, so it made perfect sense to me. All right, let's talk about the crowd itself. When you looked out live in comparison to the Titans game, did it feel about the same kind of crowd? Obviously, the Patriots were playing aside. That was the home opener.
It definitely felt about the same, and I just, as far as like a Jaguars fans are concerned, especially the season ticket holders, 3 September home games in a row is really, really rough. Like I'm rocking like 4 different tan lines here right now just because of the past few weeks. And it just, I was telling Chad in our pre-show meeting that it just, the heat from the game day itself, it takes so much out of you. So the fact that many fans still showed up to the 3rd September home game in a row, I think was really commendable. But I have heard that other people thought that the crowd was a little sparse as far as it's concerned.
Some people watching TV, I think it depends too when the cameras catch it. If a camera's going to pan to the crowd right before halftime or right after halftime, obviously most fans are not in their seats. Then I kept looking kind of at the FanDuelville area where the pools are, and I could tell that was packed. And it makes sense. So if people have never sat in, let's say, section 400, and props to you, everybody who goes and sits in their seat. But if you don't feel like it, you can get access to bathrooms and drinks and food far more quickly.
And a better viewing experience.
And if you get a spot right up along the fence, you have a great viewing experience. You are in the end zone. But I've watched games from there, and it's fantastic. So I get why some people, and then obviously for the people who it is more social, they go to the Bud Zone, and they probably don't even pay that much attention.
You can also watch the game, too, in Daly's place. And on hot games like that, if I had a ticket in the 400s, there's zero chance that I would ever go to my seat. Zero chance. I would watch it in Daly's place, I would watch it in the Bud Zone, or I would watch it in the Cabanas. Probably the Cabanas out of all of those spots, just because the atmosphere is a little bit cooler over there.
Yeah, and the pools were a perfect place the last 3 weeks to watch any football game.
So when it comes to fans' responsibility and where people, because there's these different thoughts, right? There's part of a fan base that thinks you need to be in your seats and you need to be loud and you need to be locked in. You don't need to be walking around. This isn't social hour. And there's the idea of like, I paid to get into the game. If I want to go hang out in the Bud Zone, I don't want to sit in my seat. It shouldn't matter either way. Is there a right way or a wrong way to be a fan?
I'm of the opinion that you shouldn't tell other people how to fan. But we've had this discussion sort of before that you talk about, with the Jaguars' success over the past, season and a half, when do you start allowing quote unquote, allowing the bandwagon fans to sort of join in on the party? And where I sort of stand with this is like everybody can get invited into the club, can get invited into the parade, the party, but I, as a diehard fan, season ticket holder, been there for 10 plus years, I'm getting VIP and bottle service, and the rest of you people can go with the common folks. Because if you want, fans have literally really burned for this team, and a lot of us are wearing still the marks today from the past few weeks of just sunburn after sunburn. And when you, as a diehard fan, when you go through the elements of winning and especially of losing, going through those same elements, I just think that you should be put on a little bit of a higher pedestal. But if you want to come to the game and you want to enjoy it, everybody enjoys it differently, whether you enjoy it at home or whether you enjoy it with your family or friends or the party aspect of it, or you don't drink at all. Enjoy it however you want to. But for bigger games, it's always going to be the games that, like the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Patriots, those are going to be the games that draw in the casual fans more so. Hardcore fans are always going to be there. But I just think there's a different hierarchy of fanhood and, reward based of what you should get, I think.
So, but where are the rewards then? I mean, like in what specific scenario can you tell me where a hardcore fan would be rewarded over somebody who's a casual fan?
Well, that's I think a separate debate, because I really feel like that a lot of the season ticket holders have sort of gotten the shaft over the past year. The prices were increased on our season tickets. We didn't get the option of getting a printed ticket. Now we get the option because fans complained so much, but we got to pay the extra. So not only did you increase my ticket prices, but now you're charging me extra. Like, what benefits outside of teal deals am I getting as far as being a season ticket holder? And when I can just go off the street and buy a ticket for $20, that hasn't really changed. But for these bigger, higher ticketed items, it sort of makes you wonder, like, well, why don't I just enjoy football the way I want to enjoy it? And then for these, at home or whatever, just because the viewing experience is so much better.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can be a diehard fan without actually going to the game based off of your circumstances. I have friends who had season tickets for years who now have little kids, and it's impossible for them to be able to juggle everything. And some of them still have season tickets, and they have little kids, and they figure it out. But to each their own. Yeah. Everybody has a different way. But you can be a diehard fan on your couch. Whether you're by yourself screaming or whether you have a whole party.
Right. But I do think you should get extra perks, though. If you're a season ticket holder, you're showing up to the games, because even like some of the giveaways at the front, during the dark ages, we used to get giveaways every single game. And last year, I think we got a couple. It was a couple games that we got something for. This year, we did get something for the Patriots game, which was cool. We got one of those, the defense banners that you pull apart, and yeah. So we got one of those, but the other two games we didn't get anything.
Ticket holder, or because you
just
were
because you were walking in,
fans or whatever. Oh, just everybody.
You do get your name on. There is the wall, the Pride Wall or something inside the stadium where you can walk, and if you've been a season ticket holder for 5 or 10 or 20 years, and you'll see your name on the wall there. That's kind of cool, but I don't know. I just think that the NFL in general, and even just sports leagues in general, should support your season ticket holders more and give them more perks and give them more reason to continue to show up. Because right now it just feels like they're just counting on our money, and that's that. And there's no extra
thought. The product on the field is not enough to encourage you to remain a season ticket holder.
No, I mean the product on the field has been garbage for 10 years up until last year.
Now, yeah.
But it would still be nice to be rewarded. It was almost like as soon as the first season that we got good, then they're going to increase our season ticket prices, and they're going to take away a piece of memorabilia that was important to a lot of people, including myself. And to the point where I'm considering paying for it, but I'm really going to be mad when I have to write that check to pay for something that should already be included in my season tickets.
Which is what?
The ticket memorabilia, because now everything's electronic.
Okay.
So I have a lot of tickets that I've saved over the years. I am a holder.
How much does it cost to get the printed tickets?
I've heard like $35 to get the season, and it's like.
But are they pieces of paper, or are they the actual
I haven't
tickets?
seen the full details.
If you pay for it and you get printed piece of paper tickets, that's not going to help you, right?
No, I mean, it's
you
just...
want like the old school, and I say old school.
Well, they used to put so much care into the tickets. Like they would put fans on them. They would have contests who can design the different tickets. It was very much like you involved the fans a lot more when you were losing, and then the first season you have in a decade that you're winning, like it's just like you're going to take all this stuff away that a lot of fans enjoyed. I know it's not make or break because electronic tickets are where the future is at, but just throw the ball to your season ticket holders that have been around for years. Like, even if you want to do a rewards-based system, like if you've been around 10 years, you get X amount. If you've been around 20 years, you get a little bit more. I'm cool with that too, but it just sort of feels like
if you've been a season ticket
something.
10 years for one
Something.
day.
Airline miles, rewards for your
Yeah.
coupons.
something.
What is something that you hated about yourself that you now consider a strength? We will tell you what ours are. Coming up next, you're listening to Helmets and Heels, built by Dream Finders Homes on 1010XL.
Defense wins championships. Each week,
You got it.
Superior Fence
Thank you,
and
sir.
Rail presents the defensive player of the game. It's all about defense. On 1010XL.
Now that I'm working out regularly, I'm so glad that I've been going to Bold City Health so I can get the most out of my workouts because I'm not worried about neck or back pain. Lauren Brooks here, and if you have chronic pain, you will want to meet Dr. Aaron and Dr. April at Bold City Health. They will help you learn why you're having those issues and how to correct them through not just adjustments, but also proper nutrition. Plus, they have flexible hours and they're open on Sunday, so you'll always be able to find a time to go. Call Bold City Health today at 379-4621 or find them online at boldcitychiropractic.com. There's so much more than just a chiropractor, and Friday, October 12th, you can learn how to regulate your hormones at the Hormone Reboot Workshop at 7 o'clock at Journey Church. Hormonal imbalances are on the rise in both men and women, and since hormones have a profound effect on our mental, physical, and emotional health, you won't want to miss this workshop. Again, that's Friday, October 12th at 7 p.m. at Journey Church, and you can sign up online at boldcitychiropractic.com. That's boldcitychiropractic.com. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
DJ Chark is at my local Publix. in Nocatee tonight.
Nocatee. I wonder if he lives down there.
Well, it's
Oh, that's
it's
right.
a
Never
Allen
mind.
community
Not
thing.
like someone spotted him.
No, like he's there on purpose
Shark
in a
attack.
jersey.
Wait, don't the Chiefs get? Who is it? Somebody just said this. The Eric Berry is coming back for the Chiefs.
Is he gonna come back? We'll ask Brooke.
Well, he has a Haglund's Achilles injury, which is
I think it's
basically having a bone spur on your Achilles. That's why he was inactive on Sunday.
Damn.
I don't know as far as when he's
we can
supposed to
ask
come
Brooke
back.
if she thinks he's gonna come back.
Yeah,
He's like their only player on defense.
and I figured you're welcome to introduce
Okay,
her.
cool. I
Since
can
you
do that.
know her, and
Yep.
yeah.
I'm happy to do that. That's no problem.
Jaguars worked out running backs Orleans Darkwa and Matt Days.
Yeah.
Who?
Darkwa had 171 carries for 751 yards and 5 touchdowns last season with the Giants. Days had 5 carries for 13 yards with Cleveland. Darkwa was probably the best option. He also had 19 catches for 116 yards. He's a bruising runner with some big playability.
Nice.
Take it.
I wonder if it was that he probably wouldn't play this week. Would he?
Who? I'm sorry.
The Giants,
Oh, I don't
former
know.
Giants running
Oh,
back?
He could.
Yeah, if they sign him, I think they can. Isn't it like a right away thing?
Sports Center facts. Patrick Mahomes has more completions with his left arm than he
Yes.
does interceptions with his right. Blow him up. Just keep blowing smoke under his skirt. I love it.
They almost lost that game too.
Yeah.
If Kessler hits, what's it?
Keenum.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if he hits him on that fade, he was wide open right into the end zone.
Keenum hits Kelsey. Is that what you just said?
Oh, I just said Keenum.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Keenum. Yeah.
You say what now? You were listening to the show and what?
Demarius Thomas is who he missed.
There we go.
Oh, I have to buy boxing gloves.
Who's gonna get in trouble?
Okay, I'll tell him that I like that.
My cousin got cute boxing
Hey,
gloves, but
whatever.
I don't want cute boxing gloves.
Exactly. Go somewhere else if you want it to be quiet. Double fisting, I like that.
What in the world?
Alright, I'll leave it there. So, someone wants to let you know that they use 2 beer cans and they slam it against their chair to make noise at the stadium. It was a older Hispanic woman.
Oh,
That's awesome.
That's how I'm out at the game.
She said no one in her section likes her.
That's awesome.
Oh my gosh. Now, are these full beer cans? Because I wouldn't like her in my
Well,
section
beer cans
either if
look
she's
annoying.
spraying beer on me. Although the last 3 games that probably felt good. Why would you ever buy white
Make
boxing
noise.
gloves? Those are
I
gonna
was
be dirty in a minute.
I was getting into the game and walking in, and it started raining, and everybody sitting like under the overhangs. I was unbothered. I just walked straight in the rain. I was like, just let it come,
Yeah,
because it
feels
was
so good.
terrible. I had a hat on and didn't care about my hair for that game.
It was actually chilly when it started raining. We moved to Lot E.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Then, and then the rain came. Poor Brian burned himself because he had to move the grill for the hamburgers, whatever.
Yeah.
And so he had to run and get it and burned himself. Poor guy. That hurt, but they were so good. Oh my
What's worth
gosh,
it?
They were delicious. Why does this feel like such a big decision? 78 degrees. Yeah, I don't get
Can't
it.
believe this.
Well, it's funny because this morning
Yo, it was freezing. It was 68.
Michelle was like, if we change it 1 degree, it swings by so many. And so I was like, okay, then, leave it alone. And then Steve was like, what are you guys talking about? And I was like, it's just real chilly in there.
Barstool is a podcast. I've never really paid it. I mean,
They're like a media empire.
okay, and they have like they were going to be on ESPN for like a minute, and they were like, can't do that.
Well,
Right?
2 of their high-profile people, Sam Ponder and Sarah Spain, actually complained that
Oh,
they were getting
okay.
their own show,
Right.
and Sam Ponder and Sarah Spain didn't have their own show, so they complained to the higher-ups. It lasted
All right,
1
here we
episode,
go.
and that's it. And then
They
the
do podcasts. and stuff.
oh
Other
yeah,
people say
number
that,
1
right?
podcast,
Yeah.
PMT. Pardon my take.
Yeah.
Other people say that Ponder was pissed because they said she should have aborted her daughter.
Oh,
No,
they
he
call
never
it
said
slut.
that. He never said
Yeah,
that.
She said he said that. That's right.
But that was her.
Yeah.
You're listening to Helmets and Heels, built by Dreamfinders Homes
Presented by Underwood Jewelers and American Window Products.
on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Welcome back into Helmets and Heels, built by Dreamfinders Homes. My name is Blythe Brumleve, and I'm joined alongside, not Donna Murphy tonight. She's off for the foreseeable future. But I feel like I always have that set in my head, saying Donna Murphy's name first. But Lauren Brooks,
We miss her.
joined alongside me tonight, and we got into it a little bit on the last segment, talking about home field advantage. But the Chargers definitely do not have home field advantage. This past weekend, they faced off against the 49ers, and if you followed any of the game day tweets, you could see that it was not a Chargers home game. Now, the Chargers are the team that's moving to Los Angeles. They're currently playing inside of a soccer stadium. It holds about 25,000.
Well, they're moving to Vegas.
No, the Raiders are moving to Vegas.
Oh, I think they were both moved. Okay. No.
Chargers and the Rams are both in LA now.
Oh,
They're
that's
supposed to be
right.
sharing a
That's
stadium whenever they get it finished, I think in 2020. But those two, the Rams are doing pretty well. The Chargers, however, are not. Even though they're playing, they always seem to play pretty well during the middle of the season. They always seem to find themselves in the playoff mix. But it was one of those sites that you look at and you wonder, if you're a Chargers fan, if you still support that team, would you even show up to these games if you're going to be outnumbered in your own quote-unquote home stadium?
That part wouldn't keep me from going. What would keep me from going is if I lived in San Diego and my team got moved to a place that didn't want my team in the first place because they were already getting the Rams, already had the Rams at that point. So that's what would keep or prevent me from going. I think the San Diego group feels, jilted, as well they should. And it's not like Los Angeles needed 2 teams. But yeah, if it was me, if I was, let's say, if I wanted to go to a game, the opposing fan base around me would not bother me, just because, especially if I thought my team was going to win. Then I could talk trash no matter how many of them there were, and I'd be fine.
Yeah, because if you see some of these photos from the
Yeah.
game, it's completely dominated. It's all red. It's all 49ers fans.
They're playing in a soccer stadium,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And it holds 25,000 people. They're supposed to be in their new stadium. I believe it holds 70,000 for their new stadium.
Right.
So
I can't decide which annoys me more to watch football. Well, from a TV perspective, playing on in a soccer stadium. I mean, it looks smaller. It looks like there are high school stadiums that are bigger than that, or the whole Oakland Raiders playing on the same field as the Oakland.
Oh, I hate that.
I hate it. The dirt. And not to derail us here, but when we think traditional football stadiums, it's hard to see the brown dirt, and then it's hard to see this where it's like, now who's this a home game for? How can, I mean, yeah.
It's embarrassing. Both situations, I think, are embarrassing to the league, and I think they're an eyesore.
It would be hard, and to know that you're still 2 years out from having a stadium. That's a fan base that I guess the diehards will stay true to them and go, we'll stick it out with them because we're going to get, but no, that would be annoying.
And Raiders fans have that, right? Like, or the Raiders team has those diehard fans that I feel like that's a completely different scenario. The Chargers, I don't know. I can't think of famous people who are Chargers fans. I don't know of a huge populace of people who are diehard Chargers fans. And we live in a city that has Navy connections just like San Diego does. And I don't see people around here who once lived in San Diego being diehard Chargers. I just don't feel that there's and obviously I don't live on the West Coast, but it feels to me like the Raiders have a fan base that stretches
the Raiders and the Rams, just because they both originated in that market. The Chargers was strictly a money grab, and I think that's what turns a lot of fans off, especially if you were, and say if that situation happened here in Jacksonville. I don't know that I would follow the Jaguars after that, strictly because I would hate that ownership. I almost think that if there's a rule put in place to say you're a commissioner for a day, I would get rid of the Spanos, the owners of the Chargers, current owners that chose to move the team to LA. I would pull a Donald Sterling and get rid of those owners and beg and plead with the city of San Diego to put the team back there, because I think this is a disaster already. LA does not want the Chargers. They want the Rams or the Raiders.
Yeah, and I still don't think you need two NFL teams in one city. I understand Los Angeles is massive, but I still don't think you need that. And, when it comes to San Diego, the NFL makes so much money. I mean, think of how much the NFL has made just in some teams moving. Take some of that money and help San Diego with the stadium. I mean, as a Jaguars fan, I'd be fine with that. Give them their team back.
I think this is the risk you run when you make an announcement about moving teams like 4 years in advance, saying, okay, we're going to move, 2 hours down the road, and in California driving distance, that's like 8 hours worth of traffic.
But I wonder how that affects. Because I remember on one of our shows a couple years ago, we had Telvin Smith on, and it was when the Raiders deal was first announced. And my first thought with them being in Vegas is you're going to get a lot of away fans that are going to be in the stadium. Yeah. So how does that home field advantage affect the players? And Telvin Smith said it wouldn't affect him at all. But I couldn't imagine that I would think that it definitely would matter. I mean, and of course, in an interview, you're going to say, no, it probably wouldn't matter. But over the course of like home game after home game, you're not feeding off any kind of crowd. You're just feeding off, I guess, maybe the booze. Like maybe there's some players that do feed off of that. But I would.
Well, it worked for the Vegas Golden Knights. I mean,
that's true.
It helped that their team was so good this season. But a non-traditional hockey market. In the middle of Vegas, and these people automatically embraced it and became fans of it right away. So I would assume that will be the same when the Raiders move there too.
Well, on Sunday morning on the kickoff show, I mentioned how Mike Vrabel, the head coach of the Titans, said, we want to make sure Titans fans are at this game against the Eagles. Obviously, the Eagles travel well, and there's going to be a lot of Eagles fans, but it's bad for players to look up and see so many opposing fans. And I remember thinking, that shouldn't affect a player. That should never, yes, if the entire stadium is Eagles, but obviously it's going to be more Titans, just a larger percentage of Eagles than maybe other teams. But, Telvin said it didn't affect him. But I do wonder, does that get into the player's psyche and go, well, we don't really have, this hardcore fan base that we should have?
I don't know. I mean, you heard, what was it, Fred Taylor that said after the Titans game that he needed the fans to show up in order then the players feed off that energy. So do you guys feed off of it or do you not? Like it's one way or another, but maybe it's different motivations for different players.
I'm sure they feed off of it, but it shouldn't affect them negatively.
Right.
I guess if that can work both ways in an ideal world.
Well, moving on to the next topic that we have is Barstool Sports, which has been a sort of a hot topic in the past couple weeks. And they've sort of been a hot topic, I think, controversially over the past few years. The Daily Beast, which is another online site, wrote a pretty scathing article on Barstool calling into question their history and the women who work and read their content. content, which led to some women saying that if you consume Barstool content, you're complicit in sexism. And Erica Nardini, who is the CEO of Barstool, I think she's been there for a couple years now, she wrote her first blog post ever for the company, and she defended herself and obviously defended the company. And she said that basically that the Daily Beast is painting their company using, tweets and quotes that have been said by their CEO, Dave Portnoy. He said these things, I think I want to say a handful of years ago, about some famous, personalities on ESPN. He has, sort of criticized a lot of women, but he's also criticized a lot of men too. So Erica Nardini said that while she hasn't agreed with everything that the CEO has said in the past, she said she doesn't want to be portrayed as the token female of Barstool Sports. And if you're calling her the token female, then that in and of itself is sexism that you're trying to combat. So how do you guys sort of feel about the whole Barstool brand itself? Do you consume their content? Do you think do you find it sexist? Would you recommend it to a friend? What is your overall appeal?
I don't consume it whatsoever. But I don't really consume any satire. I don't watch Saturday Night Live, so it's not that it's just a sports thing. It's in general. I tried to get through the article that the Daily Beast wrote, and once you get through a certain portion and it starts to put out what Portnoy has put out in the past, I'm sorry, I can't ever get in line with someone using, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say it on the radio, so I'll just say it's a word that rhymes with rut, to talk about women. If you say that, I can't ever listen or understand your philosophy at that point, because I think that's incredibly rude. If you want to call women chicks, babes, I could care less. But that word, I think, is like I said, just rude. And then,
so you don't watch Game of Thrones?
And I don't. No.
Okay, because they say it all the time in Game of Thrones.
See, that would bother me too. Not offend me. I understand it's just a word, but it's just I choose not to. And I don't follow people either who use a lot of cuss words in their tweets. That's not how I want to consume
and that's actually a good point, because Erica, the CEO, or I guess she's the CEO now. I think Dave Portnoy, I called him the CEO, but he's actually the founder of the company. But she made that comment that, look, we're a comedy brand, and some of our stuff is going to insult some people, some of our stuff is going to offend people. That's the nature of comedy itself. And I think that has a lot to do with it too. But my biggest problem with it was other women coming forth and saying, well, this is, I was afraid to even talk about this because I was going to have a bunch of people telling me that I'm wrong. But they completely agreed with the sexism comment and said, if you consume Barstool's content, then you are complicit in the sexism that they have promoted years in the past, which some of these tweets that the Daily Beast drug up were from 2013, which it is a little bit of a different climate nowadays as far as some of those verbiage or words that are used.
I think where this gets sticky for some people is these guys are entertainers, and what she says Barstool is essentially a comedy brand dressed up as a sports media site. That's what the CEO calls it. And these guys may not truly believe that all women are
ruts.
Ruts or runt?
No, the
ruts.
S word, not the one you're thinking of.
Oh.
Yeah, because you definitely can't say that one, but the other one, yeah. Anyway, the point being, women get treated like crap at a lot of places they go, and they're told certain things about the way they look, and that's part of this battle we face as women. I mean, that's part of it. What I don't like is a bunch of dudes saying, and I don't consume their stuff because I don't know, I just never have. If I float this idea out there and I call a woman this name, and we all laugh about it and it's funny, but Dave Portnoy might say, well, I don't really think she's that. Well, there's a whole bunch of minions out there who are listening who take that.
Stoolies is what they're called.
Stoolies, thank you. And run with it and make that like how they treat women. They refer to women and that, I don't know, it blurs lines. It's like, oh, we're not being serious. We don't really think she's in whatever. We were just making a joke out of it. Well, I mean, at somebody else's expense, and at times that's not... again.
Yeah, I think you need, in order to be
sense?
truly funny, absolutely. I don't think you have to be vulgar, and I guess that's where.
And look, I can be vulgar, and
I don't consume it, so I don't know if they're always vulgar.
No.
I also don't the sports talk of old was like, here's the babe of the day, and I'm like, what? That's not a thing anymore. I mean, it should.
It's still, I mean, honestly, it still shows up as far as like ratings wise and clicks wise. It still outperforms a significant amount of content, like regular content. Like, here's what the Jaguars did on Sunday, yada yada. Here's a few stats.
Right, and that's fine, and there's a place for that. I just don't ever want to be lumped into that category of the token female, or we don't really take women seriously. We just use them as bits on our show. That's not where I belong.
But that's actually where a lot of the women who work at Barstool, because this Daily Beast article did not go to one single female that actually works at the company to get a quote on what the culture is like working in the company, which is. That's
I don't know what those women, the women.
Casey Smith, who I adore. She is Texas A&M Aggie. She came on the kickoff show a few times to do to preview the college or the recap the college games. She is really smart. She's several she's a blogger. She's also on air. She does a lot of I think she's on the radio every single day with them. Sirius XM I think is where their station is at. But she is extremely talented and she came out full guns a-blazing last week and said that look, I have been mistreated in this industry, but it hasn't been at the hands of Barstool. It's been at the hands of other smaller companies that I've worked with.
I think my final thing on that topic is just, if at any point someone that works there is encouraging those stoolies, those people who are the diehard, to go after anyone, like if they think that's funny or if they get enjoyment from someone else, and especially a big group of those people, to attack people, that's where it's like, well, hold on. You can be silly and funny, and it's obviously everybody's choice whether they want to consume it. But don't at any point don't at any point do that.
And that's the biggest critique of Dave Portnoy, is that he has done that in the past. And I think that's where a lot of people, especially that consume the comedy portion of Barstool, they like that portion of it, but they don't like his particular actions. So are you lumping an entire company, an entire media brand in with one person?
The guy who founded it?
Yeah.
Well, then there you go.
But I mean, he did build the company.
No, I know. But if the one who founded it and built it is the one who's under question because he's the one doing those things, it's going to fall. Just like with Blake Bortles being, it's not always his fault. It's not always
but
his
you're
fault.
Leader of the squad.
Right.
Fish
so
stinks at the head.
You take the blame sometimes when you shouldn't.
All right. When we come back, we're going to talk with Ashlyn Sullivan, digital reporter for Jaguars.com, and get into some matchups for this upcoming weekend against the Chiefs. This is Helmets and Heels built by Dreamfinders Homes. Okay. Yeah, I like a lot of their stuff. It's funny. And their podcast, Pardon My Take, is...
Yeah, I don't lose to any... So for me, it's not like...
This is really long.
Yeah, it is. I know. It's like a minute something. Minute 20.
But Pardon My Take is #1 sports podcast on the planet. Yeah. And it's two of their main guys who...
Like I said, I don't mind having a good time and laughing and saying stupid shit. It's when if it attacks people, and then you get these dumbass people on Twitter who follow and worship David Point, and they're like, oh yeah, she's a slut. Let's now send her hate mail and let's tell her how what a slut she. I mean, that's where it's like you have a responsibility as somebody with a lot of power. If you put something negative out there, even as a joke, you got to know that people are going to look at that. And if it turns into harassing somebody, to me, it's
I think the slut word should never be used. Even if you are talking about a chick who slept with a lot of people, I still like that phrase. You can say, hey, she's loose or whatever. I still think there are certain words that should just never be used.
And that's a personal preference.
I think it's awful. But
that word.
Yeah. But we're raised not to use words like that.
Is the person how many?
No, he called Ponder a Bible-thumping freak.
He said he wanted her to slut it up on television. He didn't call her a slut.
Oh, okay.
He said, basically, he doesn't want to hear about your
One of the most important things about buying a house or owning a house is your roof. If your roof is in need of repair, or if you need a whole new roof, contact my friends at All Pro Roofing and Consulting today. Lauren Brooks here. When it comes to hiring a roofer, you want one who won't require any upfront deposits and one who is not going to sub out their crews. That's exactly what you'll find with my friends at All Pro Roofing and Consulting, who have over 25 years of experience. You can find them online at All Pro Roofing LLC. All Pro Roofing and Consulting is a family-owned company and a part of the Lloyd's family of businesses. That's allproroofingllc.com. Thank you.
Yeah, what was crazy, because I was watching it unfold live on the internet last week, and this Daily Beast writer immediately put his account on private because he didn't want to have the stoolies coming after him, critiquing his stuff. And then they Deadspin, that website, some of their writers got in on it. And what a lot of the stoolies did is that they went and they found old tweets from Deadspin writers and the Daily Beast writer that use, like the F word, and I'm not talking about, FUCK. They're using a lot of different provocative language, and they said, well, if you're going to pull this up on us, we're going to pull it up on you too. Where do you sort of draw the line? Yeah. But he's definitely, Dave Portnoy is not somebody that I'm super passionate about whatsoever, but the Pardon My Take guys, that is such a great podcast. They come out Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, but they're comedians, and so they're super funny, entertaining.
Sports doesn't have to be buckled up, and some of the best stuff is the stuff that's funny and relaxed. But when you're taking shots at people that can be hurtful, and I'm not saying oh, he sucks, he's can't throw a football, or whatever, but personal attacks, and then you get these idiots involved who, again, have this worship mentality and worship.
That's what they actually did against Sam Ponder, because they had the whole issue with Sam Ponder wanting to get the PMT. That was PMT's Van Talk, and that was the two guys that were going to be on the show. So they had nothing to do with Dave Portnoy. Sam Ponder confused those two with him, and that's why she went and wanted to get the show canceled.
Gotcha. Guilty by association.
Right. So when the show got canceled, it was just a couple weeks ago that she was doing a live or a Q&A on Instagram, asking questions, and somebody had asked in why'd you get the Barstool show canceled, and she said, I never got it canceled, I wanted to actually work with them, a blatant lie, apparently. And she posted that to her Instagram stories, and then that's when Dave Portnoy came out guns a-blazing, and he was you brought this back up, he's you're directly lying to your audience and trying to cast us in a bad light. And then he sent his stoolies after her, and sent people in I think they sent, or he told people that if you went to the College Game Day set and you had because they made a shirt, Sam Ponder Lies, and said, if you get this shirt on College Game Day, I'll give you something. And so that's when he's trying to get his mafia out there. But at the same time, Sam Ponder also brought it up and also lied. So it's
right, yeah.
But
there's faults on both sides.
Lied, I guess that's my question. If she went to them and said, look, I don't want them to keep doing this show.
Well, she confused the two. She confused the people who are actually going to be on the show, which is the Pardon My Take guys, which are fantastic. She confused them with Dave Portnoy.
Not the ones who actually said whatever.
Yeah. So she confused the two, and then came back a couple weeks ago and said that she tried to work with them, and they called it out and said no. Even the Pardon My Take guys, they were look, we don't want to talk about this, we don't want to bring this up, but we feel we kind of have to. Yeah. And basically said she blatant lie. And it makes sense for Sam to lie about something like that, trying to make herself look good.
Yeah.
And it sort of changed my whole opinion on Sam Ponder. It really seemed like a Mean Girls approach, because I adored her until that stunt. And it was you should have came out and publicly apologized. You're going to call people out and mistake their identity. You should publicly apologize about that. And she never did that.
It is a reflection of the people they work for is the guy who was so horrible to her, right? I'm just understanding this correctly. Yeah, I mean,
he said some provocative things. Yeah. And that I don't agree with. Yeah. But at the same time, there's plenty of other people that work there that do an incredible job. Casey Smith is one of them. Yeah. Pardon My Take guys are. I consume their content. Uncle Chaps, who is a legend as far as Jaguars fans are concerned, he works for them now too. He does a lot of work with the military. So those I support personalities. I don't necessarily support the overall company, but they do. They put out a lot of funny videos. And it's not them, they just find stuff on the internet and just retweet it out. It's not necessarily their content. But I was really put off by several women saying that they weren't that you're promoting sexism if you consume their content.
Yeah, I mean,
I was really offended by that. Yeah. It's don't tell me what I can enjoy.
Right.
The flagship station of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
15 seconds.
Thank you, sir.
Jacksonville Beach, WJXL FM, Jacksonville Beach. What's the latest on the
Oh, JJ, will you tell her real fast? We're going to start with Jaguars and then do Daly's Place. I don't think she'll care, but just as some quick FYI.
1010XL, 92.5 FM.
You're listening to Helmets and Heels, built by Dreamfinders Homes,
Presented by Underwood Jewelers and American Window Products.
on 1010XL, 92.5 FM.
I was waiting for the words to come on, since it is the late Tom Petty, but I guess this is an instrumental version. But I know somebody else who loves Tom Petty. That would be Ashlyn Sullivan, Jaguars.com digital reporter and host. At least I assume so, Ashlyn, because you went to Florida too.
I do, yes. I'm a big Tom Petty fan. I actually saw for the first time in person this season when the Gators played Kentucky. I was in the stadium and saw the tribute they do to him for the first time, and it was so cool. In person, it's even better.
That's awesome. And hopefully, we're not going to talk Gators football here, but hopefully this Saturday that certainly works and fires up the team. Let's get it to Jaguars Jets, though, Ashlyn. Let's back up a little bit. Who do you think, besides Blake Bortles, had a kind of a breakout performance in that 31-12 victory?
I gotta go D.D. Westbrook just because of the week he had before against the Titans. It wasn't his best day, and he was the first one to tell you that he needed to do better. He was practicing all week, and he was telling us in the locker room, this is my week. I know I'm going to do better. A career-high yardage for him, and he played lights out. He just seemed like he was always getting the ball, and he wasn't giving up on plays, whereas before in the Titans game, you could see him either dropping the ball or as soon as he caught the ball, he'd go out of bounds, and this time he was running into defenders, trying to get those extra yards, and I just saw a whole new level of intensity, I thought, this week with D.D. Westbrook.
Who makes the decisions to mic up a player each week? Because Blake Bortles last week was fantastic.
Yes, he was great. Normally, it's discussed within our broadcasting department, and Patrick Kavanaugh, director of broadcasting, will throw out an idea like, hey, let's mic up Blake or let's mic up Dee this week. And we'll all kind of talk about it, and then it gets addressed with the public relations department. And normally they agree or disagree, saying whether it's the right week to do so or not. And then it goes to the players who normally say yes. Sometimes they say no, or they'll give you a hard time, but they'll normally say yes. So it all stems from just a conversation each week about who's a reliable and kind of storyline of the week, and then it goes from there.
Because he says he has no choice on the mic'd up. Sounds like that's not really correct, right, Ashlyn?
That's correct. He definitely has a choice. Now, they're going to give you a hard time, and they'll say yes during the week, and they'll be all for it, and then once game time comes, they're like, I don't know if I want to do this. It's like, sorry, too late. You said yes.
Ashlyn, the Jaguars will hit the road for the first time in what seems like forever since the opener, right, against the Giants. And they've got to go to Kansas City to face the hottest quarterback in the league right now. Is this exactly what this defense wants right now?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I don't want to say this defense was bored the past few weeks, but they didn't get a lot of action, especially the cornerbacks. I think this is the week the defense can truly prove that they're the number one defense in the league. I think it'll be a really exciting game. It's a strength going against the strength with Kansas City, one of the best offenses in the league, and the Jaguars, best defense in the league. I think it's going to be awesome. I think this defense is going to be chomping at the bit, and we hear how confident and how, not at times, cocky they are with their defense, so this is the time to prove it.
Ashlyn, the Jaguars selected Taven Bryan with the 29th pick overall in the first round of the draft. How has he played thus far?
He's played really well, and I don't think stats show that, but when you talk to guys like Calais Campbell and Malik Jackson, veterans on the team, they are so impressed with him, and I think that really speaks volumes for a guy like Calais Campbell. You heard him say in training camp that Taven Bryan's the best rookie he's had his entire career, and it shows that how much trust they have in him. For a rookie like Taven Bryan, and as well as Ronnie Harrison and DJ Hayes, for all of them to go into this defense and hold their own and show up, I think it says a lot about the rookie themselves.
Going back over to the away or the game this weekend, playing at Arrowhead, it's one of the biggest home field advantages in all of sports as far as the crowd noise is concerned. Have the Jaguars sort of hinted at how they're going to combat that big challenge this Sunday?
I know normally during practice, and at least a lot during training camp, they have the loudspeakers on, trying to simulate that huge crowd noise. And I think this team honestly thrives in situations like that. I think this defense especially is born and bred for loud, stressful situations. At times they almost play better in those because it gets them amped up. And the more you amp up this defense, I think the more dangerous they are.
Ashlyn, let's talk about Daly's Place. For the first time ever, there was the combination of a game and then a concert, Darius Rucker, on Sunday evening. How did that turn out?
It went really well, and I know people were pretty worried about the traffic and how they were going to get everyone out of the stadium for the football game and then get everyone back in for the concert, but the transition was actually very smooth. There were zero issues with traffic. It took a little longer to get to Daly's Place, but that was to be expected. It was a sold-out show. I heard it was awesome, and people really seemed to love the whole day's vibe from it. I know a lot of people stayed after the Jets game and stayed for the concert, and it seemed like a really cool event. I think Daly's Place is definitely going to try to book more of those shows.
Yeah, I thought it would be an absolute blast for those people who could handle that long of a day. But really,
that is a long day.
Yeah, but really, once you have a couple drinks, then the rest of the day goes according to plan, right? Yeah, absolutely. All right, tonight, Need to Breathe just kicked off their concert. We got to interview Josh Lambo at the Dreamfinders Homes Stadium home last season, and we talked to him about Need to Breathe, the band. He is a huge fan, and there's pictures now on Twitter of him kind of helping one of the guys from the band kick a field goal. How jacked was he for tonight's concert?
Oh, yeah. So normally the players get approached about Daly's Place and like, hey, like, what type of music do you like? Would you be interested in pairing with concert? And Josh Lambo, this was his first pick, was Need to Breathe. So it's cool. I know he's a really big Christian rock guy. He's one of the few in the locker room that really like this type of music with Christian rock, so he was definitely the go-to to approach for Need to Breathe. But I know he was really excited. He had told us how excited he was, and he's very vocal about how a big fan he is for this band.
You guys also have another upcoming concert partnering with the Jacksonville Symphony. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, that'll be November 17th at 7:30, the Jacksonville Symphony. And it's going to be a play on Rudy, the famous movie, the football movie.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be awesome just to have a Rudy show at Daly's Place, a bunch of football fans. The Jacksonville Symphony is awesome and so talented. So it'll be something different, something we haven't seen, but I think it'll be pretty cool.
Absolutely. All right. Well, hopefully everybody's enjoying that tonight, and certainly everybody in Jacksonville at least gets a little break from heading down to the stadium this weekend. But, of course, they'll be back October 21st. Ashlyn, thanks so much for joining us, and hopefully when we talk to you next week, the Jaguars have taken down and no longer the undefeated Kansas City Chiefs.
Let's hope so. Talk to you guys soon.
All right, thanks, Ashlyn. And by the way, when you watch Mic'd Up, I noticed you can see Ashlyn kind of running in the background along the sidelines. So look out for that when you watch it. All right, JJ, take it away. Well done, JJ. This is a concert that I have been considering attending, as a matter of fact. It's just such a great artist. So if you know and want to win tonight's Peterburg Chocolate Hill, the name of the song or the name of the artist, text into the 1010XL text line driven by Duval Ford. That would be 641-1010. The first person with the correct answer wins tonight's Peterburg Chocolate Hill. Ran into some guys in the parking lot before one of the games the last couple weeks, and they said, look, I tried to win the Peterburg Chocolate Hill one night. I was on the phone. This is when we were giving it away to callers instead of text line, but he was like, I was on the phone with your producer. My wife buzzed in. I was trying to win it for my wife, but my wife buzzed in. I had to take the call. It's my wife calling, right?
Oh, no.
So by the time I got back, the producer wasn't there. He gave it to somebody else. I said, well, all you have to do is listen, text into the 1010XL text line.
I know, you have a good excuse if you ignore the call.
641-1010. She's like, what were you doing? And because he was like, oh, and he's like, never mind. So his goal is still to win it for her. So hopefully he will win one of those Peterburg Chocolate Heels at some point. When we come back, we're going to do the injury update and get into a little more Jaguars Chiefs. That's all next. Listen to Helmets and Heels, built by Dreamfinders Homes on 1010XL. I was teasing that for either the next segment or the final segment.
Okay.
So
I'm going to come back
to
with, we'll knock the injury report out of the way. And then I'd like to do, it's my segment, right? Yeah. Not like it's my segment, but
no,
this is my, okay.
This is mine.
It's whatever you
my
want
segment.
to do.
After I said I don't need a segment, now I'm saying this is my segment,
No,
right?
I like when people have stuff they want to do.
Yeah, so I'm going to knock that out. We're going to talk about this Andrea Kramer, Hannah Storm.
Oh, JJ has
audio, so I'll kinda,
Oh, well done, JJ. I
I'll
didn't
call-
know that.
And this is Andrea being asked how that was, right? Is it
Hannah
her?
Storm
Oh, it's Hannah
is
Storm.
being
Okay,
asked
okay.
about it.
And then,
Which her husband is a broadcaster too. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
I think I did know that.
And then I would like to get to, we teased this and we never got to it.
Oh,
and I
yeah,
think
the
hate,
strength, yeah.
What you hate about yourself that you
I was
know.
gonna mention
Yeah,
that.
I think that's a thing. So,
I
we'll
teased
kinda
that
move-
because Chad said he loved that, so that's why I was like, oh, we'll definitely
yeah,
hit
we got to
that.
get to that.
So,
Yeah. So we'll move.
Oh, yeah,
Maybe
Dan.
a few things, and I'll tease Brooke Pryor coming up from the Kansas City Star. We'll
Perfect.
get in more into
Cool.
the matchup with the Chiefs. Does that work?
Perfect.
Excellente. Do I have another All-Pro at some point, JJ?
Yeah, it's 7:30.
All right, thank you, sir.
But I got a call for a liner. Or like he's got an audio thing he has to play for the Fair and update, right?
JJ, you can come back with it, and that way we don't have to throw to it,
And
if
I'll
you don't mind.
With what?
The Fair and Fair injury update.
Okay.
Instead of music, we can just come back with that and knock it out of the park.
You
and
don't
move
have
right
anything,
along.
right? There's no email. We're just waiting on.
Yeah, we won't get it till tomorrow.
Okay.
So you can just do
But hey-
Fournette and Linder.
Yeah.
Hayden was out Sunday.
Hayden was out. Fournette. Linder was banged. He didn't come back in the game, did he?
He did not.
No.
But they said, Marone said yesterday that Linder has a regularly scheduled day off tomorrow, like he's had all
Okay, so he doesn't
season.
normally practice on Wednesdays
And then
anyway.
he said, and then he said, we'll figure out if he's gonna practice. But somebody told me that Linder said after the game he expects to play next week. So, see, I thought that was another one. I thought, well, they're just holding Linder out because they know Shatley's fine and they don't need him in order to beat the Jets.
Right.
But who knows?
No, you like
If my
me to think.
assumptions are correct.
I think it's one thing if you're coming up to the playoffs and you choose to do that. I think it's,
Yeah.
that-
I mean, it's so exciting. Like, in college football, the matchups gets hyped so much because there are rankings, right? You know,
well, they matter. The
But so I
game
love
that
like
we-
5 versus my team, 22, whatever,
Yeah.
top 25 matchup. Like literally Sunday in Kansas City is 1 versus 3 if you look at the ESPN power rankings. Like
right.
that in college football, you know, like 1 versus 2 is always
Yeah.
the biggest
That's
deal.
more
1
like-
versus 3,
yeah.
2 versus 3, what have you. And
I stayed up super late watching that game and then watching all the commentary afterwards. I don't think I went to sleep until like 1:30 in the morning.
Ooh, last
Last
night?
night?
Yeah.
Wow.
But you don't have a set time you have to get up, right?
I like to get up by 8 a.m.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah. That's the beauty of working from home. But I do like to get an early start to the day because then I can hit the gym and like the afternoon and not have to. I just got bad news though. They're closing down my favorite location,
Oh, bummer.
which has, I go to Bailey, so they have like 15 locations all around town, but the one I like to go to is 10 minutes from my house, and there's nobody ever goes there. It's like all old people, and they go like at lunchtime, and that's it.
That's probably why they're closing it.
Yeah.
Bummer.
Like, damn. Well, I guess it's a bad lease. They couldn't renegotiate a favorable lease, so they're just going to shut it down completely. Now I got to drive an extra 10 minutes to go to the gym that has more
The one on
people.
beach.
Yeah, the people that go like more to be seen rather than to just work out.
That's why I love my new gym. There's none of that. There's no like
What gym?
what people wear. It's called Jack's Sports Fitness, and it's just a small gym, and they have classes. And like today, Carly and I took kickboxing because it's her last day before she starts work tomorrow. So and I took it last week. I was the only one in it last week. She and I were the only 2 people in it this week. So you basically get a one-on-one like kickboxing lesson. So I love like it's small classes. There's no like pretentious people. Everyone's there literally to get their butt kicked. I love it.
See, if I go during certain hours to the Beach Boulevard one, then it's a good vibe. But if you go anytime after 4 p.m., it's
Yeah,
like you'll
the rush
see,
hour crowd.
yeah, and then you'll see like the people who are like obviously training for, and they're like walking around like their big clear heels and doing the poses, and I'm like, just can I get the machine,
Who was
please?
the Thursday night football game?
Rams Vikings.
30 seconds.
That was the one that they did?
Mhm.
Okay, that's right.
It was I think it was Vikings at Rams.
Yeah, that's right.
There's a lot of good games this weekend.
Excuse me.
Thursday night has been surprisingly good.
Alright, here we go.
You'd think Mahomes would be in the top 5 for passing yards for quarterbacks in the league, but he's not.
Friday at 6 p.m. on 1010XL. The personal injury attorneys of Vera and Vera present this injury update. Vera and Vera, protecting you and your family since 1979.
Well, we won't get an official update until sometime tomorrow whether or not Leonard Fournette is expected to do anything this week. My money is on probably not. Don't expect him to be out there. Don't really want him really to be out there. That's kind of our push for finding somebody or signing somebody off a practice squad. We know that DJ Hayden was out for the game against the Jets. We'll wait to see if this toe injury, which is horribly painful from what we've been told, a turf toe type thing, will prevent him from being available this week against the Chiefs. Brandon Linder, who had what was referred to as a back injury or some kind of back ailment during the game against the Jets, he won't practice tomorrow, but Doug Marrone really says there's nothing to worry about there as far as Wednesday go, because Wednesday's the day he's been given to not have to practice anyway, regardless of injury. So we'll keep an eye on that.
Yeah, I didn't even know back tightness was
Back
a
tightness.
thing. I just feel like, you know, if you can move, then you're okay. So
Yeah.
obviously,
Cortisone shot or something. I
maybe
don't
get
know.
some spasms
Heating
or
pad.
something running through it.
Not good.
You'd
Either way,
think more of the players would have back injuries, honestly.
yeah, we'll keep an eye on that and update you here on 1010XL as the week goes on. All right, Thursday in Thursday Night Football. First of all, the first few weeks of Thursday Night Football have redeemed what a bleep show Thursday Night Football had been up until this point last year. We've had some really good games, and we've had some highly competitive games. We've had some offensive showdowns, which are kind of my personal favorite. And we saw, the week before that, we saw Baker Mayfield, maybe a Star is Born, and the Cleveland Browns get a first win, right? All Thursday night games that I think probably drew some pretty incredible numbers as far as viewership goes. Now, this one was going to be historic. We talked about it a bit or on our Helmets and Heels that week, that there was going to be something that hadn't taken place before in the world of broadcasting, and that was the debut of Hannah Storm and Andrea Kramer together as a duo in professional football. We know that Beth Mowens is play-by-play, and she is a trailblazer there, but there'd never been a true female combination. They were kind of given the reins. We talked about the specifics of this. Clearly not specific enough for the dummy in the room, because myself, along with I think a few others based on the Twitter comments, could not figure out how in the world to listen/watch this game on Amazon Prime Video.
The default was not.
I couldn't even find the game,
that
but I
game.
couldn't even find I feel like an old person. You know, like when your mom calls you and is like, "Can you help me with my TV? It's messed up." I'm like, "Mom, 1,000 miles away. What do you want?" First of all, I'm not AT&T, so I cannot directly help you, but I have to walk her through setting up. That's what I felt like. I went to the Amazon Prime thing. I tried to find the actual game, the video, like where I watched Jack Ryan. I thought in that same area
It would be like a header image or something.
Couldn't find it anywhere, and we scrolled and finally got to the point where I was like, this is really disappointing, because I wanted to be able to tune in and hear it. So disappointing there on that side, because I wanted the opportunity to watch this or listen to it, and the folks who did find it, as you guys mentioned, had to have a tutorial. I know Amazon even tweeted out, change the audio from the British broadcast. I mean, what are you doing, Amazon?
Right.
You pump this, make it easy for everybody where it's simple. You did these ladies a disservice, in my opinion.
That's true. And why would it be the default to be UK?
Who knows?
If you're in I would think if you're an Amazon Prime user in
United
US,
States,
you get the US broadcasters.
You would think so. So disappointed there, because they had the opportunity to showcase these ladies, and they really kind of screwed it up. So,
And also,
Storm, right?
they were on a monitor doing the game. They weren't actually at the game
Yep.
for it to happen, which is really not the way it's supposed to
Well,
be.
no, it's actually the same for the Spanish broadcasters and other like international broadcasters. And I think we have audio for this, but they talk about how they're all in sort of the same studio, and each of them has their own room, and that's where you're broadcasting from.
Well, Hannah weighed in on her experience from Thursday Night Football.
This isn't us trying to be like them or Alan Chris or, anybody like that. This is just us being us and, talking about the game from our perspective.
We talked about it being, what I didn't want this to be, gals, was
either works.
Yeah.
Thank you, a gimmick. Hey, I got an idea. Let's put two women together to talk football on a, whatever, because it's never been done before. And it sounds like they were respectful of what these ladies wanted to do and let them be themselves.
Yeah, because they said that when they were approached to do this, that they wanted specifically Hannah and Andrea Kramer to do it. They didn't want anybody else. It wouldn't be something like, well, if Andrea can't do it, then we'll just plug another woman in here, and just for the sake of getting an all-women's broadcast team. But Hannah goes on to explain that it wasn't a gimmick. They wanted them to, for their personalities, for their insight into the games. And I didn't know this, but after listening to that interview, Hannah Storm's husband is actually a broadcaster, and so she went to him and got a couple tips from him, and then there was a couple, I think Mike Tirico also reached out to when he found out the news and gave her a couple tips, and the common theme among the tips was just be yourself, because that's the whole reason why they want you to do this, is just to be yourself, and then they're not offering anything that I think a lot of these guys like Al Michaels and Mike Tirico, they have their own specialty, and they don't want to fit Hannah Storm and Andrea Kramer into that box, and just to let them do their own thing, I think was really rewarding. Hopefully we can hear it in the future.
Yeah, hopefully Amazon Prime will change the settings so that people can find it easily, but B also find it. I just think it's going to be fascinating to hear how they're different, or if they're different, or literally if you tune in, is it going to sound just women doing the exact same thing that men do, or are they approaching it differently? That's the part that hopefully this week, in 2 nights, you can watch it.
Well, apparently they don't do play-by-play. They just do commentary. Yeah, it's
See, that's what I wondered all along, because it's extraordinarily difficult to do play-by-play if you've never done it before.
Oh, yeah.
That makes... Let me back up. If you have no training in it, because obviously everybody starts from somewhere, but you have to really have studied, regardless of the sport, you have to have really studied it in order to be able to do the play-by-play part of it. I think the commentary part of it can be done by a variety of people, whether they've played the game or not, because you've watched enough of the sport. But I think play-by-play, you have got to have a
strong grasp
expert, background on
and that's what sort of Hannah hinted to also in that interview, is that she was talking about Andrea Kramer and that her preparation before just a regular football game is unmatched. And so specifically for this game that she was going to be commenting on and being in the broadcast booth for it, that she went above and beyond and had stacks and stacks of research available and player insight stories and that sort of thing. And I think that would be interesting to hear, because I don't necessarily need a play-by-play person. I would much rather enjoy listening. I would think I would much rather enjoy listening to just commentary.
Well, Amazon really screwed up by not. I mean, I'm serious. It's irritating because we wanted to see, we wanted to hear, and they promoted it. And there's nothing worse than promoting something and then you can't execute it properly so that people can pay attention to it. I like the fact that Hannah and Andrea both were like, look, this is who we are, and if you're looking for somebody to do this, that's not it, because in this business, what people will tell you is you are served best and you succeed when you are yourself. And I think at times we all probably at some point feel like, well, I got to be more like this person, and that's not when we're at our best. When we are truly who we are and our employer hires us for who we are, it's important to try to stay true to that. So when the topic was brought up, something that you hated about yourself when maybe you were a kid or growing up and now you can truly appreciate, for me, it relates 100% to what we're doing now. The sound of my own voice, I could not stand when I was a kid. I had a deeper voice. I was jealous of all these girls who had kind of the Minnie Mouse, because I thought that's what boys thought was cute, and I thought that that's what, that's what people wanted to hear, and that's how girls should sound. I mean, you don't hear you didn't hear Disney princesses with this deeper sounding voice. You just really didn't. I mean, I can't think. Now, they've come a long way, and thank God for my daughter's sake that this idea of you have to be squeaky girly, because that's not who I am. And so for a long time growing up, I felt self-conscious about sounding like a prepubescent teenage boy, because that's what it sounded like to me, and I couldn't
Did it hinder you doing anything that you wanted to do?
No, I mean, I didn't. I wasn't ever gonna. I mean, I didn't like to sing. I wasn't like, oh, I can't join the choir because I have to be in the whatever section. I don't even know. No, not really. I just
the bass.
When you're an awkward pre-teenage girl and you're trying to fit in, and you're like, where do I fit in all this? It was a thing that I was like, I used to change the way I'd answer the phone, because I had a friend who was from like the deep south, and she had this real cute like, hello. I mean, it was just this thing, and I tried, and somebody was like, what are you doing? I was like, I don't know what I'm something. So, but that's what distinguishes in this business me and the rest of us from the squeaky girls. Squeaky girls usually don't put on the radio to talk sports very long,
That's
so
true.
I appreciate having a different
Jessica
voice now.
Mendoza got squeaky during one broadcast, and she has not been able to live it down since.
Oh, really? I
The
didn't know that.
home run derby, I think 2 years ago, is that she got super excited about the home runs and got a little squeaky with her voice.
See, I didn't know it was the squeaky part that people criticized. I remember though them criticizing because like for every single home run hit, she made the same exact noise.
Yeah.
Like, it was something like,
Oh.
yeah, like that. But it was literally like over and over. So then people made remixes to make it sound like something else. But regardless, what about you, Blair?
I would say for me is definitely I had a similar situation where it took me a very long time. I would say up to a year before I ever listened to myself on the radio ever, because I never thought that I would be in this industry. And so listening to myself, as soon as a podcast would come on, or as soon as the show would come on, I would pause it immediately because I didn't want to listen to my voice. That's changed since then, but I would say definitely something that is a strength now was my work and school focus back when I was a kid. Like I was not a partier, never sipped alcohol in high school. If you were my friend and you partied or drank or did drugs, you were not my friend anymore. I was just very school focused, like a book nerd, and nowadays it's sort of getting into like more of the college aspect of my career. I did start going out. I did start going to parties, and I took a while to navigate that balance, but now I feel like I have a good sort of work-life balance now, because I feel like I can focus when I need to focus, and I can let loose a little bit when I need to let loose. And I think you need to have both of those balances, because I did burn myself out like my first year of college.
Yeah, I thought about that one for me too, like being kind of the teacher's pet, because that's always, and I'm still like that, like in a workout class. I want the fitness instructor to praise me, not necessarily above anybody else, but I want to hear that like I'm doing a good job, because I really want that, rewarding thing. But I don't know that I ever hated that about myself. Like I think I was always kind of proud, like that the teachers loved me, other than what I did hate. I could not, and this will not surprise anyone listening, especially the two of you, I could not stop talking for the life of me, no matter when it was. Even if it was in class, like when I was supposed to be doing stuff, once I finished my work, I would start talking to the people next to me, and that was the knock I always got from the teachers, is like, she knows what she's doing, but she's distracting everyone around her, and they need more time to, complete whatever it is. I would get made fun of by all my soccer teammates. They even had a joke one time. I was in the middle of some surefire, super long story. And I always joke, like, long story short, and everyone's like, you don't have short stories, right? And so one of the dads was like, shut up, LB. Well, so that became like an anthem that they would use all the time, like in the middle of a sentence. Even if I was actually trying to say something that actually mattered, it would just be like, shut up, LB, right? And so my parents would even say, like, you started talking at 6 months old. Like, that was really young, and you've never stopped, like, never. And so now I'm certainly more aware of that, whether it be radio or sales and stuff. But and I try to always make sure everybody else gets a word in. But now I appreciate that I talked so much, because I feel like it has evolved into where I get paid to do it.
Paid to do it now.
So, yeah. But I think there's lots of, I'm sure, physical things that we could have all chosen, whether it be teeth with braces or having glasses, or regardless of what it was.
Definitely had braces.
But I feel like those are less, I guess, impactful, so to speak, because everybody goes through some sort of growth.
Not really nowadays, though.
No,
These
but I mean,
kids.
Yeah, I guess. But everybody at some point will go through an awkward phase.
But they don't wear like blue eyeshadow and wear the wire braces with the rubber bands. I don't think they do that anymore. Or they go through like the fashion experiments where it's just
They're
embarrassing.
a lot more advanced.
Yeah,
as far as
way more advanced.
Instagram changes the world.
It's sort of comparable to, I've heard quarterback conversations too. Like a lot of the up and coming quarterbacks who we kind of, I think we tossed this around as far as a topic for Clemson, because they got a new guy coming in, and sort of the veteran guy that's been there for a while, he gets shoved out the door.
Yeah, well,
and
he left out the door voluntarily, but yes, his position was replaced, and so.
But that's because of YouTube. They said Trent Dilfer, I think, was on some programming last week, and he was saying that it's all specialized training now. Kids can just go to YouTube and watch quarterback film and learn significantly more at an earlier age, and I guess it applies to makeup too.
All right, the Jags and the Chiefs. We got an exciting one coming up Sunday. Brooke Pryor, who covers the Chiefs for the Kansas City Star, joins us here on Hamilton Hills, built by Dreamfinder. So right after this.
The home of Jacksonville
What did I say?
Sports.
No, you didn't. I just thought you were gonna say midday chalk. Because I've heard you say it so many times.
Oh,
so
right.
I thought you were gonna
I'm
say
just
it.
glad I haven't said the station I used to work for. And then
Oh.
I mean, that's something that I like.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Do I have one more? Yeah, I do.
Yeah, you want to do it right here?
As soon as I get it open. Hang on 1 second.
It's actually.
All right, I'm ready.
It's all pro.
Yep, I am ready.
All right.
Roofing it up.
10 seconds.
Thank you, sir.
Ninja Warrior.
Lauren Brooks here for All Pro Roofing and Consulting. We've all heard the horror stories of people paying for a roofer, but their roof doesn't get finished and the company disappears. If your roof is in need of repair or if you need a new roof, contact my friends at All Pro Roofing and Consulting who have over 25 years of experience. They don't require any upfront deposits and they never sub out their crews. All Pro offers industry-leading warranties because they're both state certified and certified by the manufacturers. All Pro Roofing and Consulting is a family-owned company and a part of the Lloyd's family of businesses. Contact them today at allproroofingllc.com. Thank you. There's Jessica Mendoza. I should have gotten 2 waters instead of 1.
I wonder, has Amazon said anything that promoting it this week? Maybe.
Are they doing it again? I didn't even know they were.
I
don't
think
follow
yeah.
Amazon on Twitter, so I don't know. I just felt like it was everywhere last week. You know, oh, this is going to be a big deal, and
I think they're on for the rest of the season, or I think they're doing it for the rest of the
every
season.
Thursday night game now, huh?
I think so.
Okay, well, good to know. Maybe I can figure it out. I felt stupid. I was like, is it me? I mean, I feel like it should be one of those.
No, she even commented on it during the show. She was like, I know people had, you know, a little trouble finding it, so hopefully that'll be fixed in the future. Prime Video, maybe I'm gonna say Amazon Prime, Hannah Storm. Twitter search is so great.
Yeah.
Yeah, to call Thursday night games for Amazon Prime. Yep, looks like they're for the foreseeable future.
They're like, I'd rather be cold than hot.
Oh, I guess the default was the Fox broadcast.
Yeah.
Joe Buck, Troy Aikman,
That's
and
what I
Aaron
thought.
Andrews.
Yeah.
But you had to switch the audio to hear Hannah and Andrea.
And maybe that's what I couldn't. Maybe I don't understand Amazon Prime Video well enough to. I couldn't even find the Fox broadcast on there. I'm like, I have it because. It's stupid. I'll have to try it again.
Respect you deserve. Call 800-500-5555. Jacksonville
Well, you do have to change a couple
JJ
different
Brooks ready to
settings.
go?
Prior?
Oh.
Hey, this is JJ over at Index. How are you? I'm good. Okay, sounds good so far. But open we got about 20 seconds. What'd you say?
I think so. Me? Oh, I
Yeah,
said you got
said
it.
my
Yeah.
name, right?
Well, I said you got Brooke.
Oh, yeah.
The Georgia Bulldogs. Keep up with what's happening in Bulldog country. I'm Andrew Gibson. Catch my Georgia Bulldog football reports on 1010XL.
Alright, here we go.
Find Colleen Towers Pub in Atlantic Beach and Tinseltown.
You're listening to Helmets and Heels, built by Dreamfinders Homes
Presented by Underwood Jewelers and American Window Products.
on 1010XL, 92.5 FM.
I tell you what, if I didn't like Brooke Pryor so much, our next guest, I would let this song run out. I love this song so much. It's so one of my favorites, and I know just about every word to it. So
It takes years to learn it, I think.
it's so good, though. Love it. Brooke Pryor joins us. She is trying to get back from Denver back to Kansas City, where she is the beat writer for the Chiefs with the Kansas City Star. Brooke, how are you?
I am wonderful. I'm sitting in an airport terminal, so you may hear some people boarding.
That's
It
okay.
won't be me. I'm going to be here for a couple more hours. So
Oh.
I'm excited to chat with you guys and break up some of the waiting.
Well, we appreciate it. I didn't know if you would have left late last night, but it turns out you were in the Mile High City for a little bit longer. That game last night was exciting from our perspective, watching it from 1,000+ miles away. What was it like being there last night?
You know, it was exciting, and I think I blacked out the last 2 minutes of the game because I read my game story and I do not remember writing it. About the time that Patrick Mahomes threw that left-handed throw, I mean, it was unreal. You got the feeling in the last, I would say halfway through the fourth quarter that the Chiefs might actually pull this off, but it wasn't until that left-handed throw that it's just like, I mean, what can't this guy do? There's no way that they're not going to win when he can do things like that and get a first down or, throw the ball across his body, across the field where it should be picked off, and instead it goes for 29 yards and a first down 3 yards from the goal. I mean, it's unreal. Every single week I think, okay, the magic is going to run out, but it hasn't yet.
What was sort of, I guess, the fan expectations, the media expectations of Patrick Mahomes going into this season? Because it seems like he sort of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I think that at least around Kansas City, the expectations have been crazy high. But they were also, I think, tampered down a little bit going out of training camp because every single day the story was Pat Mahomes has thrown another interception in training camp, or Pat Mahomes threw 3 interceptions in training camp. And every single day we had just a lot counting how many he threw. And they were all lies. So I think that, while there was so much excitement around him and around just how dynamic the offense could be with him, seeing these interceptions kind of reminded everyone, okay, this guy, it's his second year in the system, but he's essentially a rookie, first-time starter. Maybe he's going to be really good one day, but that year might not be this year. But for him to come out the way that he has, to throw, I was trying to remember earlier, he set the record through the first 3 weeks, I think, with 13 touchdown passes, had another one last night, and no interceptions is really remarkable. I mean, I think we all thought that he was going to be good, but I didn't think we thought he was going to be this good. And so now just the craze around him in Kansas City is just at fever pitch, and it's only 4 weeks in. So I can only imagine how much crazier it's going to get if he keeps performing at this clip.
Looking at it from a Jaguars perspective, the Chiefs are coming off of this short week, and they've got the Patriots the week after the Jaguars. Any way that the Chiefs overlook the Jags?
I could see maybe a little bit, but because, they are coming off the Monday night game, which, everybody in the Chiefs locker room was really jacked up for that. Like you said, Patriots the next week. But I think with the defensive reputation that the Jags have, they're taking it really seriously, and I think the schedule actually works out well for the Chiefs in that way because the Broncos were definitely the toughest defense that they've faced to this point. I mean, they had some guys in the secondary that were just covering up the receivers, and it really made Patrick have to, stay in the pocket longer, or he got flushed out of the pocket. He was still making throws. I think he completed 10 of 15 passes outside the pocket for 192 yards. I mean, that's crazy. And so with him and the rest of the offense going through the experience of having this tougher defense. I think it gears them up nicely to get ready for the Jaguars, but it's not going to be an easy test by any means.
Brooke Pryor covers the Chiefs with the Kansas City Star. She is our guest here on Helmets and Hills, built by Dreamfinders Home on 1010XL 92.5 FM. Before Brooke took the job in Kansas City, she covered OU, so she's seen Patrick Mahomes before when he was at Texas Tech. You go from playing on a football team that plays no defense at Texas Tech, and the biggest complaint about this Kansas City team is they also don't play any defense. But does Patrick Mahomes have an advantage, Brooke, because he's kind of been in this situation before?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Chiefs feel like a Big 12 team in the NFL. And Andy Reid's offense looks very similar with all of just the crazy stuff that he's doing. But something that we've talked about a lot is, this against the Broncos was the first time that the Chiefs have played with a deficit all season. And there was some thought, how is Patrick Mahomes going to handle adversity? But I kept pointing out, at Texas Tech, they weren't winning every game. They weren't winning many games. They, weren't playing for the national championship. They weren't undefeated. So he's used to playing from behind, and he's used to having to shoulder the expectations of a team and shoulder the hopes of a team every single week. And going back to high school, same kind of thing, that if his team was going to win, he was going to have to pull out some magic and, just go all out offensively. And, whether it's running, throwing, whatever, it was kind of on him. So he's used to that role. And with the Chiefs being the way that they are on defense, he knows, okay, our defense can't get a stop. The only way we're going to win is to outscore them. And so he'll go out there and do whatever it takes, left-handed throw, whatever, and kind of make up that difference.
You guys were on the road last night, but you're coming back home this weekend, going to play at Arrowhead. It's highly regarded as the best home field advantage in all of sports. How have you seen other teams combat that crowd noise?
Yeah, I mean, it is really, really loud. They've only had one home game so far against the 49ers, and I thought that she played really well in that game. And the crazy thing is that until last night, until Patrick Mahomes' first half last night, that was not very good. The 49ers game was his statistically worst game. But I thought the defense played really well in that game. The rest of his weapons played really well, and a lot of it, I think, is credit to all of the people that are there. And the tailgating scene outside of that stadium is unreal. I mean, I got there at, I think, 9 a.m. for a noon kick, and I had a tough time finding a parking spot because people already had their tailgate set up. They had their cornhole boards out, their grills, and that was even loud. That translated to the FM, and you can't think.
All right, Brooke, when it comes to the Jaguars offense versus the Kansas City defense, how do the Jaguars attack a defense that is, I'll be nice and call it porous?
That is a nice way to put it. That's probably the nicest thing you could say about it. I think the interesting thing is Reggie Ragland, inside linebacker, during training camp said, no matter what, we're going to stop this run. Don't worry, we're going to stop the run. Last night, they did not stop the run, not even a little bit. First half, the Broncos were averaging 8.5 yards per carry. They finished out at 7.2, but it was ugly. I mean, Philip Lindsay ran all over him. Royce Freeman did the same thing. And so I think the ground attack is really where the Chiefs look the most vulnerable. And I thought for a while that it was going to be the secondary that really struggled because they have had some suspect plays, and Eric Berry still isn't healthy. I don't think we're going to see him against the Jaguars this weekend just because he hasn't practiced in over 40 days. It's been since August 11th since he's been on a practice field. But the secondary has kind of figured it out. Kendall Fuller is really good. Orlando Scandrick usually has about one really boneheaded penalty a game. But I think that the linebackers, the inside linebackers in particular, don't look great. Outside linebackers are also kind of iffy. Dee Ford with his groin injury. Breland Speaks, the rookie, hasn't performed very well. And this defense just really struggles to tackle and to bring guys down. And so to beat this team, I think you just have to stick to the run game and just run all over them and wear them down. And it seemed to be pretty effective last night.
Have we mentioned, Brooke, that Leonard Fournette is not available, or we don't know yet if he will be available. So the game plan there to be able to run up and down the field with T.J. Yeldon is something that they're hoping to add another piece of that puzzle. But Fournette's been battling this hamstring injury pull. I don't even know what they're going to upgrade it to when it's all said and done. But we saw Sammy Watkins with a similar situation last night. What's the status of him so far?
Yeah, we didn't get an update today from Andy Reid on what's going on with Sammy, and I think that you have to be concerned, given his history with muscle strains, that this could be a serious thing. Although from what we've heard and kind of the chatter on Twitter, that doesn't seem to be the case. But given the fact that it is on a short week, I think that they're going to be really careful with him during this week. Although the offense still looked pretty good without him, Demarcus Robinson really stepped in and made some good plays. D'Anthony Thomas came in and made some good plays. But that's the thing about this Chiefs offense. They are so deep that one guy gets injured and
Just
it
plug and
feels like
play,
they have
yeah.
exactly. They have like 3 to fill his space.
You guys started off super hot last season. I think you went 6-0 before you got your first loss on the season. Obviously, this season you're undefeated. One of the few teams, I think the only team in the AFC that's undefeated. How are you guys sort of using last year's experience to combat falling off this season?
You know, I think that that's a very real thing that this team is aware of. That they know, you don't want to get too caught up in a fast start because it can just disappear. But I think that this team is a lot different. Because of the Mahomes factor. And, Alex Smith, I wasn't around last year, but, Alex Smith, from everything that I've heard, was a great locker room leader and was really, trying to right the ship, and Andy Reid trying to do the same thing. But I almost wonder if Pat Mahomes is going to do that and maybe be even better just with his experience at Texas Tech and growing up in the professional baseball locker room. The thing that all the guys say about him is that he's never too high, never too low. No matter what the situation is, he's just really even-keeled. And I think if that's your leader and that's the guy that you're kind of following in the locker room, that even when you get off to such a fast start, you still kind of want to bring it down, be level-headed, knowing that, if maybe you get too high or whatever else, it can all disappear. So I think that they're going to try to follow his lead and hope that works out.
All right, Brooke, final question before we get to your prediction. Who do you think, or what do you think when you think of Blake Bortles?
Oh, man.
Hardest one. We saved that for last.
That is a really hard question. I felt so warmed up, and now I'm just like, which maybe is really representative of what I think about Blake Bortles.
Absolutely.
I think about what Jalen Ramsey said about him, which is, I'm sure, not what he wants to hear. I think that he's just kind of there. He's not, knocking my socks off, anything like that. He's a competent quarterback, but he's not doing anything especially special.
All right, fair enough. All right, Vegas says the Chiefs by 3 at home. What say you, Brooke Pryor?
I think that's probably going to be right. I think this is going to be a lower scoring game than the Chiefs have had. The one against the Broncos was the lowest one they've had all season. And I think it ends up being a score something close to that, maybe 29, 27, somewhere in that range. I think that the defense is really going to, or the Jags defense is really going to cause the problems for the Chiefs, but that home field advantage is going to end up working out in the end.
Brooke, appreciate it. Have a safe flight back to Kansas City, and we'll chat again soon.
Thanks, Brooke.
Thanks so much for having me on.
That's Brooke Pryor from the Kansas City Star, covers the Chiefs. It's funny because she and I both she covered OU, she lived in Oklahoma City, and I was in Tulsa. But we both got jobs in NFL markets like within a couple of months of each other. So
that's so exciting. I think she was terrific.
No, she's great. And here's the side note. When I had my show in Tulsa, the paper that she worked for in Oklahoma City would not let their beat writers go on radio hits. It was the most ridiculous thing ever, and it used to piss me off. Yes, and they would let one person, their senior sports writer, do whatever he wanted as far as radio, but they would not let any of the beat writers go on.
Why?
Who knows? So when she got this job, I was like, yes. And then I saw the schedule. I was like, oh, perfect, because I think she's super talented, and this is a perfect forum to be able to, chat about these things.
And there aren't a ton of female beat writers. There are obviously lots of females who work in sports, but not necessarily a lot of female beat writers. So I think that's awesome, and I think she was absolutely terrific. And I loved her answer about Blake Bortles. Like,
yeah, but that's the reality. Sure. I mean, she stayed around here any longer, and they might kick her out of town for taking that approach to Blake, But again, that
hasn't happened to anybody yet.
No,
right?
Of course not. No.
Sunshine and rainbows.
So we thank Brooke for her time and appreciate that.
Absolutely. All right, well, we're going to turn it over here shortly to XL Prime.
We're going to go watch this National League wildcard game, the Rockies and the Cubs.
Yeah, do you have a rooting interest? Of course you do.
I'm married to a Cubs fan,
yeah. Right.
And, whatever. Outside of that, I will tell you that there's Matt Holliday who plays for the Rockies who started his time out there. His dad was my husband's baseball coach at Oklahoma State. His other son was the assistant. So we have a tie to the Holiday family. So if the Cubs lose, it's okay because the Rockies, we got a rooting interest on that team. So
all right, excellent. Well, everybody have a great rest of your Tuesday evening, but of course, don't go anywhere. Stay tuned for XL Prime Time with Hacker and Andrew Gibson. That is next until 11 o'clock. For the absent Donna Murphy, for Lauren Ruin, for Blythe Brumleve, I'm Lauren Brooks. Thanks, of course, to our producer, JJ LaSelva, for making it all happen tonight, and we'll be back with you next week on Helmets and Heels, built by Dreamfinders Homes.
good job, ladies.
We're back here next week, next Tuesday, 6 8 p.m. Go Jags!
Yeah.